Scary story time while I fix this Hello Kitty store-bought slime. I think it's Appalachian Mountains. Don't clock me. Okay, y'all, so... Okay, y'all, so there was this man, and his name is Noah, right? And him and his family lived in, like, the western of North Carolina, deep in the middle of nowhere. I'm guessing near them scary mountains, I guess. Okay, y'all, this is Hello Kitty charm. I wanted to show y'all. I might start sending y'all these store-bought slimes if y'all want. So growing up near them creepy mountains that everybody is always talking about, they all had this one specific rule. If you hear whistling outside, don't you dare pay attention to it. Don't move, don't look for the noise, just act like you don't exist. Now, obviously, it's that one person that be like, I don't really care. Ooh, this slime smell good. Ooh, I don't think I have to do much fixing, y'all. And Noah didn't really believe in all that scary crap up until last October. Y'all, this slime don't really need to be fixed, so I'm just gonna add the other stuff in it. Yeah. Now, y'all, one afternoon, Noah decided that he was gonna go hunting. Now, at this time, it was like, maybe 4, maybe 3 o'clock. And he's like, yep, I'm gonna go. I don't want to make a mess, so I put it in here. It's still making a mess. Now, while he was hunting, he kind of lost track of time, and it got dark pretty quickly. Now, Noah, he knew the woods like the back of his hand. Like, he knew it better than his own house. But when it turned nighttime, basically said he was lost. Y'all thought I forgot? Get your money's worth in what? Let it drain. I just haven't been able to do it that much because I'm not making the slime, but I'm gonna start making slime again myself. Now, he felt extremely uneasy because, usually in the woods, you start to hear noises. You start to hear maybe frogs. I don't know what people hear in the woods because I don't be in them. But Noah said there wasn't a noise. There wasn't even a cricket. Everything was just scarily quiet. Y'all, look at my cat. Her name is Miko. I'm just letting y'all know, if y'all hear meowing, it's her. She finna go back in her cage and she do not like it. Oh, Noah was like, yeah, y'all not finna get me. So he decided to walk the path that he knew, but he felt like he was only going deeper into the freaking woods. And then he heard it, a whistle. Not just one, but 3 whistles on the left side of his body. And he immediately froze because you want to know something? Now, something that he was told years ago dawned in his head. If I ever get trapped in the Appalachian Mountains in the middle of the night and I hear a whistle, don't move. So he didn't. He immediately did not move. He stopped. He stopped his tracks. And then guess what? He heard it in the front of him. He heard it in the back of him. He heard it on the side of him, y'all. Now, when he heard the first whistle, he initially thought that it was somebody calling for their dog. And then it dawned on him what, his grandma told him. Now, he had been standing there for at least 10 to 15 minutes before he was like, okay, it's gone. Maybe I should try to move now. Just as he was about to move, y'all, he feels something maybe 5 feet away from him, behind him, whistle right in his ear. No. He made the right decision by not looking back. So he just decided to slowly walk down the path that he came from. Y'all, when he go home, he immediately runs to his grandma. Now, keep in mind, he's sweating, he's pale. He looks like he just seen a ghost because technically God knows what he's seen. His grandma like, what's wrong with you? And then she literally looks at his face and she could tell. She go, mm-hmm. And he tells the grandma everything that happened. And then she goes, quotes on quotes, it tried to see if you were new. It loves to test the new ones, but you passed the test. Grandma, what do you know that I don't, Grandma? What is it? Noah, he stopped going outside, y'all. After 3:30, yeah, he's inside of the house. That traumatized him. And y'all, honestly, what do y'all think about this slime? I think that this actually the best store-bought slime that I've had. It wasn't overactivated, it's perfectly stretchy and it's cute and it smells like really freaking good. So I am going to try to do a poop. How do y'all like this slime?
Let's read some more scary Reddit stories. Many years ago, my brother was driving home from college very late at night, early in the morning after finals or midterms from Michigan to Illinois. He's in the middle of nowhere and is getting drowsy. He dozes off for a second, then wakes up to someone saying wake up or stay awake behind him. Not screaming or anything, just what you'd say to someone if you were in the car with them. He looks in the rearview mirror and there's a girl sitting there. He looks at the road and looks again in the rear view and turns around. She's gone. A mile or two later, he drives past a cross and all these flowers on the side of the road. He's wide awake for the rest of the way home. Come to find out later, a college girl fell asleep one night while driving there. She fell asleep and went off the road and crashed and passed away. That is actually so sad. I was in a dead sleep on my couch when I got woke up by wailing and screaming on the front porch of my apartment building. It was my neighbor and some cops. The conversation happening outside my living room window was he had taken shrooms and also had a pew-pew in his apartment, and he admitted to wanting to blast through the walls then himself, so he called 911 and turns himself in. We shared a wall. His ass wanted to shoot all his neighbors. He was put on a gurney and taken to the hospital in an ambulance. I think he came home 2 or 3 days later, if memory serves me. I heard his door opening a lot, so assumed he was home, and shortly moved out afterwards. We only spoke maybe 5 or 6 times in the 7 years he lived on the other side of my living room wall. Okay, wait, I'm confused. So he wanted to pew-pew through the wall and unalive his neighbor at the same time? I don't really get that one. Okay, moving on. When I was little, around 8, I hated going to the dentist. He always made me uncomfortable for some reason. I remember thinking his smile stretched too far and seemed forced, like clowns. Anyway, my mom always came with me and went back so I wouldn't be scared. One day, my dad had me, my parents were divorced, and he had to take me to the dentist. They tried to make me go back alone so he could sit in the lobby doing whatever. The assistants had to literally drag me back to the room, and you could hear me screaming and crying down the hall, refusing to sit in the chair. Finally, my dad came back to get me. Irritated, I'd made a scene. He rescheduled my appointment to when my mom would have me, and we just left. He made a big deal about how bad I was acting and told my mom she was spoiling me and all sorts of shit. 2 weeks later, it's on the news that my dentist was charged with child porn after essaying children under anesthesia and photographing it. I lived in a small college town, and my apartment complex was walking distance from the bar downtown area. One weekday night, I stepped out on our front porch to smoke a cigarette or two. I was up late studying. I brought my textbook with me and sat down on the stairs while I smoked. A girl who I had never met, but who lived one apartment over but down on the ground floor, came home from downtown. She was by herself, and you could tell from her walk she had been drinking. She got in her apartment and barely got the door closed before some guy who came out of nowhere knocked on her door. She opened, and I noticed he introduced himself, which was weird because it was after 2:30 a.m. Who comes to a strange girl's apartment at that time? So I decided to stay outside and pay attention. They ended up talking for over 10 minutes. She later acknowledged how weird the situation was, but did not know how to end the conversation. He would do the creepiest things, like he reached up and stroked her hair at least 3 times and would try to slowly inch his way closer to her and the door. I made a point of being loud with my textbook so he would know I was there, and he disappeared as eerily as he had come. We called the cops, and days later, they had the girl and me sit with a sketch artist. As soon as the sketch was made public, floods of calls came in. Guy turned out to be a serial rapist who followed lone girls home from bars and pretended to be a cab offering them a ride. This girl just got lucky because she lived so close to the bars. He didn't get a chance to pull that cab routine. And that is why you don't open the door for strangers. When I was little, my mom would take me to Kmart and let me wander around the toy section while she shopped. Normal in the 70s. One day, as I was playing Simon Says, an old man walked up to me and was making small talk while I played. He eventually told me to come with him and took me by the hand. We walked right down the main center aisle of the stores towards the exit sign in the back. As we crossed the last row, I looked to the right and saw my mom at the end of the row. I told him I saw my mom and had to go. I pulled away my hand and ran down to her. I didn't tell her what happened because I didn't want to get in trouble for going with a stranger. It was several years later that I realized that I had probably narrowly avoided being kidnapped or worse. In a cold winter night in a remote village from Quebec, Canada in 1990, me and my 2 brothers were asleep. We were 1, 3, and 6 years old. In the middle of the night, someone entered our house without knocking, walked around, and was talking to himself. Our house is 2 miles from the village in a rural area. My father woke up, went to the living room where the guy was. He had a car accident 1 mile from our house with his buddy who passed away instantly, and his scalp fell in front of his face. So the first time my father saw him, he saw a man with no face. He was drunk and his body was frozen. He was speaking to himself. The fact that his face was partially frozen might have saved his life, preventing him to lose too much blood. My father took him to the hospital, and he did survive. That is freaking crazy. Went camping with some friends on a hill a few kilometers out in the woods from one of the guys' houses. There's a few hiking, four-wheeling trails in the area that lead up to the hill, so it's known by locals. It was about midnight, we had a fire going, and we were just sitting around having a good time. Then the guy, there was 4 of us, sitting opposite of me, yells, "Who are you?" I turn around and there's this man about 6 feet tall staring at us from the edge of the woods with a big rock in his hand. One guy knocked an arrow in the compound bow we had. The guy across from me grabbed the hatchet and I pulled the knife off of my belt. We had no clue what we were doing, but the guy wouldn't say anything to us. He eventually just backed into the woods. No sleep was had that night and we kept a very large fire going. We were partying at a usual party spot by the river and some dude came out of the woods. He just kept saying weird shit like, "You gotta watch yourself down here. There are some bad folks around here." And when asked who he was, he just said, "I'm nobody." We were all a little sketched out and basically told the guy to fuck off. A couple days later, a girl went off the rope swing there and got really fucked up. Someone put fishing hooks all over the bottom of the rope swing and it took chunks of flesh out of her leg. Later, we found out the dude was just a guy that lived nearby, and although a creepy drunk, he was harmless. There was a fucked up, probably inbred family that lived up the road that he would warn people about. About 5 years later, last year, they beat some kid up with a log and kidnapped some girl at Pew Pew Point and took her on a joyride. That sounds like wrong turn. Once I was walking my dog in a park in London, Ontario. There are houses that sit on the edge of the park and back onto the Thames River and hiking trails. It was a pretty hot day and my dog was thirsty, so I brought him to the river to drink. We got down to the river and we were behind a house with a large privacy fence that sat on the edge of the park. While my dog was drinking, I heard loud banging noises coming from the backyard like a hammer. I thought somebody was building a shed or something. All of a sudden, the hammer stops and a man says, "Shut up, nobody knows you're here." And the banging began again. I froze in fear and then ran up to the bank back into the park. I was now directly beside said creepy house. A man came out of the backyard in fatigues with a rusty old wheelbarrow, heading towards 2 quintessential kidnapping vans parked in front of his house. He noticed me looking at him as I was walking past, set down the wheelbarrow, and just stared at me until I was out of the park. I called the police when I got home, and I still have no idea what happened. Eek, that's scary. Last year, a guy came to my house's door around 9 p.m. He knocked and I got my mom and she went out to see what was up. By the way, we live in a very rural area, so visits that late are extremely uncommon and strange. The guy talked to my mom about how he was opening a business, asked whether she liked American-made products, then handed her a Clorox container as a sample. He went back to his minivan and opened it to get a vacuum cleaner when my mom saw 5 other men sitting inside. She told me to run and get my phone since we don't have a landline. I couldn't find it, so I got my knife and stood around the corner. She threw the container outside and told them to get the hell off of her property, as well as she was calling the cops. They peeled out of the driveway and we never saw the car again. That is so scary.
Can we show them the older homestead?
Yeah, let's go. As you know.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Was that you?
Yeah, that's on either side.
It went to both.
Yeah.
My mom always yells at us about checking if the front door is locked every single night, and after reading this story, I know why she does that. So one of my followers named Aaron and Henry DM'd me this story on Instagram, and honestly, it's the kind of thing that sounds like a nightmare, until you realize it could happen to anyone. So Aaron told me they had just moved into a small house in North Carolina, tucked away in a very quiet neighborhood. She told me it wasn't fancy, but it was theirs, a starter home. And she told me they had only been there for about 3 months when this happened. So she told me it was a normal Friday night. They ordered pizza, they watched a movie, and went to bed around midnight. She told me Henry swore he locked the doors before coming upstairs. Aaron even asked him, "Did you double check the back doors?" She told me he nodded and said, "Yeah, I got it," and they fell asleep fast. But at around 3 o'clock-ish, Aaron told me she woke up. She said she didn't know why. There was no noise, no light, just that uneasy feeling that something was off. She told me she rolled over and noticed Henry was asleep, breathing steady. But then she told me she heard something. The faint sound of floorboards creaking downstairs. Not the kind that happens when the house settles at night, but this was more slow creaks, like someone was tiptoeing, like you knew there was something or someone down there. She told me at this point she nudged Harry awake, whispering, "Did you hear that?" Which he then mumbled, it was probably the cat. Except they did not have a cat. That's when Erin told me that she knew Henry was dreaming and he was a lost cause. Erin told me the sound came again, one slow creak, then another, then silence. Erin told me her intuition was on fire. She got out of bed, tiptoed to the hallway, and peeked over the stair railing. She told me everything was dark except for the faint glow from the kitchen's nightlight. And that's when she told me she saw it. The outline of their front door, it was wide open. She told me she froze out of shock and then rushed back to the bedroom. She shook Henry up, telling him that the door was open. So Erin told me at this point, Henry got up, he grabbed the baseball bat, and told her to call 911 while he checked it out. But before she could even reach for the phone, they both heard it. Footsteps running down the hallway. Not from upstairs where they were, but from the kitchen. Erin told me Henry stepped into the hallway. His heart was pounding and he flicked on the light just in time to see a figure dart down the stairs and right out the front door. She told me Henry ran after him, but by the time he reached the porch, whatever it was had already vanished into the darkness. At this point, Erin told me she was shaking, still clutching her phone, when Henry then came back inside, slammed the door shut and locked it, and that's when Erin told me that they both noticed something horrifying. The deadbolt wasn't turned because it was never locked. When the police arrived 20 minutes later, they searched the area but told Erin and Henry that they found nothing. No fingerprints, no signs of forced entry, nothing except for one thing. A set of muddy footprints near the kitchen doorway. They led from the back door straight to the stairs. Erin told me that's when it hit her. Whoever was in their house had probably been standing at the bottom of the stairs, listening to them sleep. And if she had not woken up when she did, they might have not even realized it until it was too late. So Erin told me the police told them that it could have been a break-in attempt, maybe someone testing houses to see which one was unlocked. But Erin told me that Henry said something that still didn't make sense. The pizza box from earlier, it was gone. Whoever was in the house hadn't stolen money, they didn't steal jewelry, they didn't steal furniture, they didn't steal clothes, they didn't steal shoes. They just ate and left. Now Erin and Henry have cameras all around their home. Every night before bed, they walk through the house together, checking every single door and window. And this is why Erin told me that you all need to check your doors if they're locked before bed.
In this house that you're looking at right now happened one of the scariest stories that you will ever hear. And if you're like, bro, you literally say that every time. Well, not this time, because this time everything was recorded and it's genuinely scary. I'm telling you, you will not sleep tonight. It all started in 1975, where inside this house right here, weird things started happening. The weird things I'm talking about are loud knocking sounds on the walls, furniture sliding on the floor by themselves, and chests and drawers opening and closing. These weird things I told you kept happening for a while, okay? So this is where the family noticed something. They all noticed that these things mostly happen when Janet is present. Janet is the second daughter. She was only 11. And every time she goes into a room, weird stuff happened there. It's like they're following her. So this is where her mother, Peggy, was like, nah, fuck this. Something is not alright. Let's call the police. But when she called the police and they arrived, they were not convinced. They were like, okay, we know that you're capping, so make this quick. Peggy, the mother, responded by saying, look, Janet is sleeping in her bedroom right now. Stay there for 1 minute. I swear to God, something's gonna happen. So police went to Janet's bedroom. This is her, by the way. She's sleeping. And police were like, okay, we're waiting. Oh my God, bro. We're still waiting. Nothing's happened. Fuck. They couldn't believe what they just saw. The chair who was just right here moved by itself and fell right next to them. This is where the officers realized that they're not built for this shit. They were like, Peggy, please call somebody that specializes in these things. Our job here is done. We're not coming back again. It's important to know that the chair moving by itself was not the only thing that happened. The toys in this room were getting thrown in the air and beds were shaking violently. And if you're like, bro, nah, they're just talking, they're obviously exaggerating. The blanket, the fucking blanket is moving by itself. Nobody's touching it and this thing is levitating. How the fuck can you not be scared after seeing this? Now, things like this kept happening all the time, everywhere where Janet was, and it got witnessed by so many people. You got police officers, paranormal investigators, you got journalists who came here all the time to take pics, and neighbors. You know it's bad when even neighbors saw it. All the stuff that I kept talking about from the beginning of the video until now, well, let me tell you that it's just the beginning, okay? It's a warm-up comparing what I'm about to tell you. Because this is where the real scary shit begins. Because after a while, Janet started talking in a deep male voice. See, Janet, who was just a little girl, literally 11 years old, went from a kid's voice like hi to hey, what's up? Oh, this is scary as hell. Imagine a kid with a voice like that. It will make some people faint, but this is not the end. Whenever she went to her room, she was getting thrown out of her bed, and this is a real photo. Obviously, when you're flying and getting tossed around like that, you will end up by having some scratches and bruises. She even felt a choking sensation and a heavy pain in her chest. So, Peggy, the mother, what the fuck are you doing at this point? If my kid was getting tossed around in the air just like that, I'm either leaving the house or scrapping with a jinn or the spirit or whoever's doing this, cause what the hell? When nobody succeeded to explain what's happening, Peggy just remained patient, hoping that all of this will end, and surprisingly, it did. By 1978, so a year later, Janet finally started talking normally, like a child again. The knocking and all the stuff getting dragged around heavily decreased, which makes all of this even more dark and intriguing. Why all of this happened and why only 1 year? Well, I guess we'll never know.
Scary story time while I fix store-bought slime sent in by my supporters. Disclaimer, y'all, this is not my story. It was sent in by a supporter, and this slime is called Rainbow Sherbet, and it's from the Dollar Tree. Jumping into it, you got this girl named Savannah. Now, oh, it smells good. Now, yeah, for this summer, Savannah decided she was going to go on a camping trip with her brother and some of his friends. Okay. Oh, anyway. Now, for some reason, they decided that they wanted to go camping in the middle of freaking nowhere. Why? I don't know. They're going to be camping on a mountain, so they had to take... Oh. So they had to take this trail to get to the camping area, y'all. But for some reason, the trail that they were trying to go on was completely blocked, so they had to kind of go around the trail. Never do that, y'all. If the trail is blocked, go home. Now, Savannah's brother was like, we should go home. Like, we should go home. And Savannah and his friends was like, nah, like, we not gonna go home. Like, stop being boring. Like, we already made it all the way out here. Like, no, we camping here. Now, me personally, I'm with the brother. I'm going home. I'll pick y'all up tomorrow. Now, after like an hour or two of walking, they could not find the camping area. So one of the brother's friends suggested them to just camp right there and then head back in the morning. Now, Savannah's brother, he still ain't having it. He like, y'all, I got a bad feeling. Like, I think we should go. Like, I don't like this. And, they calling him a wuss. They still calling him a wuss. Whatever. So they all decide to set up camp. They setting up camp at this point. They're getting comfortable. They're eating hot dogs, telling stories, whatever. Now, they end up, like, going to sleep. Savannah and her brother share a tent. And at around, like, 2:45 in the morning, Savannah hears her brother outside of the tent calling, like, saying, come here, Savannah. Like, come here. Like, I need your help. And at first, I just got goosebumps. But at first, she's like, bro, like, what are you doing? Like, why are you calling me? Like, what? So she gets up and she opens the tent, half awake. She opens the tent and she's like, bro, where are you? Like, what are you doing? And she hears her brother say it again, like, come here. Like, I need you. I'm by the tree. I need your help. So she opens her eyes and that's when she sees her brother facing, like, his back is facing her. So she can't even see her brother's face. She just sees his back. I have freaking goosebumps. Can y'all see that? I hate that feeling. She just sees, like, his back facing her. So she's like, what are you doing? Like, because she's still thinking this is her brother. And then, like, maybe, like, 2 minutes of having conversation with whatever that was, her brother is still in the tent with her. And he goes, what are you doing? And she's like, like, she literally freezes. And he's like, bro, like, are you good? And she's like, so she looks back at her brother and then turns around to look at, like, him outside. He's not there anymore, y'all. And from there, problems just started to arise. Everybody is up at this point, and you just hear, like, everyone's just, like, confused, asking what is going on. And so Savannah goes, like, if you hear me call you, I'm in my tent, do not answer. That is not me. Like, that's not me. So, like, 30 minutes later, Savannah's brother's friend, he's having a full-fledged conversation with whoever he's talking to. Because at this point, whatever it is like shape-shifting into them. But it never shows its face. It's always, like, turned the other side, the other way. Savannah in the tent is just trying to convince everybody to stay in their tent. Just, like, lock up the tent, just stay awake until morning, and they're out of there. At this point, day is breaking. It's like 6 a.m, and they finally leave the tent, and they see one of their friends just shaking, like, backwards and forth. Obviously, like, not all the way there. They literally had to force him to get up to make it back to the car. And you would think, okay, that's it. They had a crazy night. They were lost in the woods because they didn't stay on the trail. I think that this is the best this slime is going to get. I mean, it's a little more stretchy, and, I mean, it's definitely not pokey. So they're literally lost, and they don't make it to the car. They don't make it to their car until about like 9:30. Remember, they woke up and started moving around like 6:30, and they didn't make it into their car until like 9:30. They were all freaked out, disoriented. Oh my gosh, I can't talk. Anyways, they were all freaked out. That's all we gotta say. And yeah, they never went on a trip to the mountains again. And then when they made it back into the car to look where they were at, they couldn't find it on the map. They couldn't find it on the satellite, the map, Google Maps. They couldn't find it nowhere. So God knows where they was at. Like, only God knows. Safe to say, this is why I don't go camping. And if I ever was to go camping, it would be in my backyard. What y'all think about this slime? Y'all think I fixed it? I don't know. I feel like it's definitely more stretchy, but it just doesn't poke. And it still smells really good. Like,
this is one of the scariest stories I've ever been told. And I have receipts. I have a video that accompanies this. And I will put it on the screen. To protect everyone's privacy, I'm going to use fake names in this story. But my very good friend told me this story in real time when it happened to her best friend's best friend. So here we go. It was the middle of October. There was a girl named Sally. Sally typically dog sat for this family, for the Robinsons. One weekend, the Robinsons were going out of town, and they called up Sally and they said, hey, would you be able to watch the dogs this weekend? We're going to be out of town for 2 nights. You can bring a friend, stay at the house, enjoy yourself. She said, absolutely. Sally called up her friend Carla and said, hey, do you want to come house sit with me this weekend and dog sit? I'll be staying at the Robinsons. Carla was unavailable, and so were a couple of their other friends. So Sally just figured I'll dog sit by myself. So she went to the house and everything was business as usual. She hung out, she cooked dinner, watched a movie, and just after the movie, she was playing with the dogs and decided to take a video.
Scary story time while I make slime, dying edition. Yeah. I don't know what grade I was in. I just know I was a kid, and this happened at Splash Kingdom. Get your money's worth. I didn't forget. So we went to this water park pretty often, and now the water park is unfortunately closed down, but yeah. So in the lazy river, there's this slide that kind of connects to the lazy river, and only like VIP people could ride the slide, and they never had it on. It was rarely ever on, but this one specific time, it was on. The water coming down the water slide was this powerful force that just jolts everyone forward. Of course, everyone was being reckless, and they were like getting in front of like the stream of water, and they would just get pushed completely forward. So me, I was like, ooh, I want to try this, but I was low-key scared, right? So I remember I kind of stand in the way of the jet. I stand in the way of the freaking jet, and it pushes me forward. Like, it does its job. When it pushes me forward, I slip and lose my balance, and I'm just tossed. I'm literally just getting tossed like tumbleweed, just rolling like tumbleweed. So I'm like, this is the end of me. Like, this is the end of me. Y'all, I'm doing backflip after a backflip, looking at the sky, looking at the ground. It's like, I wish this would have happened differently. And I black out, and then I wake up sitting next to the lifeguard, and everyone's looking at me, and I just got up and walked away. They asked me if I'm okay, obviously, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm fine. Like, I'm fine. What are y'all on? Drowning and surviving has to be one of the most embarrassing things that you could ever do, because what the crap, And the funny, sad thing is that I've drowned on multiple occasions, and I can swim. So I think I can swim. Anyways, that is the story time of how I almost died at a water park. Oh yeah, y'all go watch my newest YouTube video since y'all been forcing me to post. Yeah. Okay, bye guys. Mwah.
What the fuck was that? Bro!
What's going on around you?
I don't know. I'm frozen. I am frozen.
Did the window
Sean.
break?
Hey friends, if you want to hear something scary, don't scroll. Alright, so this happened a few years ago when my friend and I were driving home in like the middle of the night. I think it was like 1 or 2 a.m. or something like that. It was really dark outside. We were driving home. We lived in a town that was kind of like rural, and like if you know anything about rural towns, you know that the roads are like trees on both sides all the time, always. It's like a tunnel of road and trees and maybe a sporadic house here and there. I was taking her home for the night. Driving in the middle of the night, no, there's no other cars, the road is desolate, it's just us and our music and the grace of God. As we're like making our way up there's like a hill that gets to her house, and then you go down the hill and then you turn to get to her street, which is like a really long dirt driveway to get to her house. Whatever. We're making our way up this hill, right? And we're coming up like around it. And then we see this woman in white, dressed all in white with like long, ratty, black hair, straight down, just all disgusting. Like think of The Grudge and then put the images on the side of the street, you know, next to a bunch of fucking trees in the middle of the night, just in the dim light of your fucking car lights, your car headlights. So we saw that. But yeah, no, this woman literally, she had no shoes on. She had like this long white, it looked like a nightgown, like dead ass this picture of The Grudge. Like, think of that. This is what I think of right now when I want to describe what I saw on the side of the road. We were just trying to like think of like what it could have been. Like we were like, why is she out there? So we turned around a little bit just to like go backtrack and see if she's still gonna be there or not. She is. We slow down, and when we slow down, she turns her fucking head towards the car, and bitch, I swear to God, she had no face. It had no face. It had no fucking face. We saw a lady on the side of the road with no face. Barefoot, nightgown, no face. We turned around so fast and drove all the way to her fucking mom's house, which is literally like right down the road. I had to drop her off and drive all the way back to my house alone. She wasn't there on the way back. She was only there on the way to her house and when we turned around the first time. But then on my way back, she wasn't, I don't know. Honestly, I thought that like maybe it was like a woman whose like car got broken down, or like maybe she like escaped some kind of psycho house. Like we live out in the middle of fucking nowhere. There's probably a psycho house in the middle of the woods somewhere where we fucking live. I've come across one. Maybe I'll tell that story next. But I digress. Weird shit happens in the middle of nowhere. Literally. Courage the Cowardly Dog was right about that one. Weird shit happens in the middle of nowhere. But it makes for good storytelling. Anyways, be careful out there, guys.